Good morning, welcome back to Odd Socks. Now, it's been about a week or so since I've last done a video because I've had a lot of things to deal with on the plot, and to be honest, filming can really get in the way. But I've made such a mess. Now this mess was kind of necessary. We had to remove the old chicken coop, start demolishing the old chicken run, taking everything apart bit by bit. We've started to make piles of rubbish so we can start clearing, bagging and taking it away from the actual allotment. But I'm not going to lie, it's such a mess. So I've come down today just to have a look around to see if I can start tidying up any of this extra mess. It's really quite cold. It's like -4 down here at the moment, and it got even lower last night. So you can see all the little bits of frost on the remaining vegetation. Now, you can see we've actually kept the shed, and we're going to be keeping this shed for the next year or two. We were going to move it, but it's quite rotten in places, and I think if we had moved it, we would have been left with no shed whatsoever. So we've redone the felt, it just needs trimming. So now at least it's watertight. The roof wasn't actually as bad as what we thought it was going to be. We just kind of patched it. And this is the area where the chicken coop was, or the large shed that we used as a chicken coop. And as you can see, it's gone. Now that was a little bit of work, to be honest, especially the run taking all the roofs off and the battens and things like that that we used to cover the chicken run. I've still got some pallets up. I need to get my wire cutters to be able to take the metal skirting off the bottom to separate them. But we're getting there. Now it's not exactly the warmest of late, which I don't mind working in the cold to some degree, but it's also been very, very wet, so it really has slowed us down. We have a load of old pallets here as well. Most of these we're probably not going to reuse. These were from the flooring of the old chicken coop that was underneath to level off the shed that was there. The previous owner did this because we are on a slope, and I suppose the pallets were the best way to actually level it all out. I don't like using that kind of thing because unfortunately it makes it a run for rats. Now, we don't have a major issue on here with rats, but any open area, anywhere where there's houses nearby or anything else, you're going to have some rats to some degree. And we're trying to remove all these little hidey holes that they could go into to try and reduce any population of rats that we have. But it's going to be an ongoing thing. The thing is with rats, you can't just get rid of them in one night, not unless you've got a ratter, which these days I don't have a dog that does any ratting. So it's going to be reducing the numbers by reducing the habitats and reducing any excess food that's left around, mainly our chicken feed. Now, when we're building the new run, we're going to design something so it's harder for the rats to actually have or get into the food. So this area is going to be a lot more secure, not just against foxes, but against the rats as well. Because I certainly don't want them keep nicking the eggs or the grain or any food that I put in there for the chickens. Now, because we did take apart the chicken coop, we tried to save as much wood as possible. And we did empty this shed out and we give it a good clear out. And we were going to build up some tall racking and other bits of shelving and stuff in there, but it's ended up as a storage for all the spare pieces of wood. Now all this mess and all this chaos that's here is absolutely driving me nuts because I can't get on with anything else. But we've kept this wood for a reason. It's going to build the new chicken coop and help us to build the new run. Most of this wood is still good, and the sides of the old shed is still in good nick. So over the next week or so, we'll be building the chicken coop so we can start emptying this shed and the greenhouse of all the spare bits of wood that we've got. And then hopefully all this will be reduced somewhat and it won't take up so much room. Now I'm trying to keep hold of some of the lino that I've got because I like lino on the bottom of my chicken coop. It makes cleaning it so much easier. I've also got some metal for the roof, some corrugated metal for the roof if I want to use that way, or I've got some leftover shed felt that I'll use for a roof for the coop as well. But I'm not quite sure what I'm doing yet until I've come up with the final design of a chicken coop, which I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be the prettiest thing in the world, but it will be more than suitable for the chickens and hopefully give them a bit of room where we can actually grow a new flock for next year. We've also took a delivery of pallets. Now, normally we go and collect pallets and, you know, collect them in 1s, 2s, 6s, whatever the case is. But I think after last year, with how many times we had to travel around and go and pick up and organise all the pallets that we got last year, we decided to actually go to a company who sells them. And we managed to get 40 pallets. Now these pallets, they're not as heavyweight as the ones that we've used last year, but they should be fine. So these pallets are going to be used for the new polytunnel, which we're going to build exactly the same as what we have on this side, except it's going to be a few foot longer. And the rest will be around the chicken run. Now I like using the pallets around the chicken run because it does give it that little bit of structure. But obviously with these pallets, the slat gaps in between are quite wide. But I think we've got enough wood to actually fill in these gaps enough to stop any foxes or anything like that getting through. And they will be covered with either a galvanised 1/2-inch wire mesh or some steel grids which will cover the fronts of these pallets. So nothing's going to get through them. Fingers crossed anyway. So we're going to try our very best of making this as predator proof as we possibly can. So one of the other things that we've been collecting at the moment for our chicken run are these trampoline frames. Now we use trampoline frames an awful lot on this plot. Normally you'll get them for free and you can get them from anything from 8 foot upwards. These ones are 12 foot. And we're going to be using 6 half hoops to actually build the roof of our new chicken run. And it will be completely covered in the wire mesh. So there'll be no way of anything being able to get through the roof. Unlike last time where the panels were blown slightly by the wind, lifted it up enough for a fox to be able to get in. With this new design, it's not going to happen. Now you can buy these big tunnels, these metal tunnels, and you can fix the chicken wire or the galvanised netting to it, but it was several £100. All these trampolines we got for free. Yes, the pallets we did pay for. I think we ended up paying about £1 a pallet, but we have got actual spare pallets down here as well, so we only need the 10 of that one. Now the most expensive thing that we're going to have to buy is the wire mesh. Now I think it's going to be about 3.5 metres across by about 5 metres down. I think we'll have to see as we build it. So that's going to be about £100 worth of chicken wire. So for the price of the 10 pallets and the chicken wire and a few screws, we're looking at about £120 for the whole chicken run. Now for the chicken coop, we already have all the wood because we haven't thrown any of the good wood away. So I'm hoping that we should have enough of everything we need to actually carry on with this build. It's just finding the time to build. Now, like I said before, I am getting really stressed with all this clutter that's absolutely everywhere. Because if you notice, there's trampoline parts all over the allotment. Now they're kind of all together in the right places where they need to be. But they are for the new polytunnel or the chicken run or for a plant climbing frame, which we're going to do so we can actually walk down the middle. And that's going to be quite large. And we're going to try and cover that with some chicken wire or chicken mesh, and we're going to be growing some of our squashes there next year. probably our curry, because I really did enjoy eating those this year. So there's a lot of things to be done, and to not get overwhelmed with any new projects that you're doing. I'm just taking it each day as it comes. I'm trying not to plan too far ahead, because I never know how my health is going to be, whether I'm actually going to be able to manage to do anything at all. To the weather. The weather is so unpredictable at the moment. You never know whether it's just going to be torrential rain or really strong wind, or just too cold to work outside. And also when me and my husband are both off or available at the same time, because I'm desperate to build this chicken coop, but I know my limits. I know I can't build it on my own, because there is certain lifting involved to move it around to adjust. So I'm having to wait till he's having a day off, so we can actually just crack on and get on with it. Now, we're not in a rush to get chickens. The chickens aren't going to happen till spring next year. And we haven't decided whether we're actually going to get day olds or whether we're going to hatch our own, which is a little bit more controversial, but we've done it before, or whether we're going to get poles. I'm not 100% sure what we're doing or how many. It will all dictate to how well we do in this area. But just look at that mess. Oh, it drives me crazy. When you're coming down to do little jobs and all you see is chaos of everything else, especially when it's mess, like rubbish mess, it's absolutely driving me crazy. So I think today I'm going to get rid of whatever little bits that we know we're definitely not going to use, and try and get it down to the local tip. Now, the strawberry bed that's down here, or what was the strawberry bed, I'm slowly moving the strawberries out. It's one of those things I need to get on with and remake the bed up the top. But I went to do the bed at the top to create the no-dig bed next to the polytunnel for these strawberries, and then the pallets had to be put there. So it really is slowing me down working and trying to work in all this chaos. But the actual door of the new coop will be actually roughly in the middle, because of how we're building the new coop. So all this area is going to be turned into wood chip. Now, we're going to try and salvage as much of this compost as possible, because some of it is actually really good. It was some of the bag stuff that we bought several years ago. But the thyme and the other herbs that are in here, they're all going to be moved as well. So it's kind of a little circle. You can't do one without the other, and then it's a roll-on effect. And it just kind of goes through the whole way. Oh, so I am absolutely freezing. I need to keep warm, so I need to crack on and see how much rubbish I can actually get off this plot, which I'm not going to lie, it's probably a lot. But at least it's one less job, and that's sometimes how you've got to see it. One job at a time, and then eventually you'll start seeing that benefit. So whatever you're doing, guys, stay safe and stay warm. And if you're coming down to your plots at this time of year, keep active. It's a real great way of keeping warm.